Welcome to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast.
Every week, they talk about the Vancouver Canucks with a fair amount of nonsense thrown in.
Sure, they're never the first with the news, nor the best connected, and definitely more off the rails than on.
But they've been talking puck the longest, and that counts for something, right?
So strap in for the longest running, best mediocre Canucks hockey podcast.
It's C4 with Chris and Anna.
Hey-o, we're back. The intro said it all. I'm Chris, she's Anna. We're on Blue Sky, and we're a day late. How about that? How you
I'm
doing,
doing good. Honestly, it threw me off that you didn't say welcome.
I know, like, I'm still kind of torn because it seems redundant, right? Like, with our intro
true.
as it is, because it just sort of throws over to us. But then, for the longest time, it's been welcome to another episode. Like, many of my podcasts have been welcome.
And also, like, OG people know that, like, whenever I have to host an episode, which is pretty rare, I also do that welcome. Just to, like...
You do? Do you throw in your radio voice?
Just, to make people feel at home. Mm-hmm. But I'm not as smooth as you.
So what are you trying to suggest? We no longer want people in our home?
Sidebar, before we've even got off the schneid here, like, I do have a welcome mat in my house. Maybe I've already told the story that says no joy allowed, sorry.
I mean, if you're a Canucks fan over the last few nights, that holds true.
Very good. Segues unmatched.
That's what I'm here for. It's why you pay me the biggest of the bucks.
So true.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a spell. You and I were here like 2 weeks ago. We talked about stuff, and we took a week off, as we're apt to do when there's a holiday sort of in the play. We then had sort of completely forgotten that Vancouver was all about sports this weekend, and long story short, stuff and things, we're recording a day late. So for any of our listeners who are like, oh my God, is C4 finally done? No.
We're going to be way more dramatic
We'll never
than
be
that.
done.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think our podcast ending would go?
We would end with a bang, not a whimper. Let me say that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, the Canucks did have some bangs. They also had some whimpers. Yeah, it's just unfortunate. We're going to get into sort of the last couple of weeks in a fast forward rewind type thing. Like,
it's rewind, but at double speed.
Lots of games. Yeah, there we go. That makes better sense. Obviously, the Vancouver Canucks have won some. They've lost some. Players have played. Players have not. Players have been hurt, unfortunately, and some hurt players have returned. So a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. The best line in a long time has been put into our rundown, and I'll let you know what it is when we get there. But yeah, beyond all of that, what have you been up to the last couple of weeks, huh?
Certainly not watching the Grey Cup, I'll be honest.
I spent... Man. You missed out. It was actually an entertaining game.
I did think it was cool, the stuff that was going on around Vancouver. They had a whole festival for the Grey Cup. I wanted to try the zip line. I didn't have time to try the zip line, unfortunately. But yeah, it was kind of funny seeing people around town. I spent the whole week just refusing to Google who was actually in the Grey Cup, but trying to work it out. And it wasn't actually possible because there was literally, the whole week, there was people with every single team's merch. But it was the first time I actually saw more than the BC Lions merch around town, so I guess that was kind of cool.
And if you go around a number of the Grey Cup venues, you'll also see merch of defunct CFL teams. They show up for Grey Cup.
Right.
Most of those teams are from the U.S. Actually,
yeah, which is mad.
Because all the Canadian markets that have come and gone are currently in the coming stage. They're here. Not the gone stage.
Sure.
Anyhow, I've just been watching hockey.
That's it. And
a Grey Cup.
Trying to keep away from the endless Vancouver rain, and I think that's about it.
Hey, I mean, we're kind of going off the rails. We should say this for Off the Rails, which we'll obviously record, and all of our supporters who support us at Buy Me a Coffee, or as I like to call it. They get to tune in. We have like a bomb cyclone showing up, eh?
Is that true?
It's like,
Oh, God.
yeah, bombogenesis or something like that is what I think it's called, but it's like a super low, and it creates lots of big wind and like weather effects and all that jazz.
Yikes.
Anyhow, yeah, fun times. You know what's also yikes? The Vancouver Canucks performance last night, and we will get into it and more in a moment. I'm trying to think when we last recorded. The Canucks had just kicked off their California road trip, right?
So they had already been in San Jose, not yet got to Anaheim.
Mm-hmm. Got it. They beat Anaheim. Nice and clean. Good win.
Yeah.
And, all things were looking good. They go into LA. They got a win. Problem.
But at what cost?
Oh gosh, I actually don't remember much about the Ducks game, and that's not to say that it wasn't a good game or it was a bad game. Honestly, I don't recall, because my memory at this point simply focuses on the fact that the Vancouver Canucks have lost one of their best players due to Jeannot's shoulder doing really naughty things.
Yes. So I guess all that would be memorable about the Ducks game was Jake DeBrusk scoring his first goal. Pete scoring, which was nice. But yeah, like pretty routine game, I would say. But yeah, the Kings game, that is definitely the standout moment. Tanner Jeannot checking Brock Besser in the head. It was just so unnecessary. And there was nothing Brock could do about it. It was off the puck, but he was also coming from behind. Brock Besser couldn't protect himself in any way. I know Kevin Bieksa kind of very unhelpfully said that you got to keep your head up, but you can't keep your head up on a swivel like an owl at all times.
No. Well, okay. I feel it's fair to suggest players need to protect themselves, right? That point is salient, but that should not take away from the fact that the actions of, Tanner Jeannot were completely wrong by any definition of the book.
And obviously got a match penalty. The next day got the phone call hearing. Yeah, so it had to be under 5. It was 3. And it just sucks, right? And we can compare it. We just have a more recent hit to compare it to. Obviously, Ryan Reeves.
So Reeves, I actually look at those 2 hits. So, well, half full, half empty, rewind, all that stuff. So the Reeves hit on Nurse.
Yeah.
Brutal hit. Him getting suspended, and he got 5 games. I do not disagree with 5. But when you look at what he did, you can sort of see he makes an attempt at the puck. He doesn't make an attempt to avoid Nurse. Nurse is in a vulnerable position and immediately regret. You can look at Reeves is done, and he's almost accepting fault.
Aww.
And apparently and I'm not trying to negate the severity of the hit, but then look at Jeannot. How is that Jeannot's hit on Brock is 3 games and the Reeves hit on Nurse is 5? Is that simply the wheel going around to a number?
I do think both of those suspensions are too short. Ryan Reeves has...
and what I was trying to get at is what Reeves was doing compared to Jeannot. He gets the stiffer suspension.
I mean, the thing is, I think a lot of people are saying that, Reeves' suspension so undercooked, especially if you compare it to his history, is that Reeves is a vet player and he has not once compromised his game for the safety of others. If you're talking about learning from mistakes, Ryan Reeves has never once done that. He's literally has merch on the Violent Gentleman store that George Paris runs. Come on. That kind of conflict of interest should be a scandal.
No, there's no conflict there.
Yeah, that's just straight interest. Yeah, I think it's crazy. Yeah. But I think I almost don't even care about like which got more, but they're both too friggin' short. Like Brock Besser,
Well,
when is
agree,
he coming back? We don't even know.
wholeheartedly.
Like,
No, and I think the latest from Elliot is that this is a bad concussion.
It's bad concussion. This guy's just had, like, he has his own condition with blood clotting. Like, scary. Like, it's really scary. And, like, I really think we should be protecting our players more.
Yeah. The other thing, if I can call it that, is that the Vancouver Canucks didn't show a response, which I wasn't, to me, I'm not the type of guy that says, oh, they have to go and turn around and, have your staged fight. But when I talk about response, I have no problem if you're going to go and then capitalize on a power play that you have for 5 minutes and respond by putting the puck in the back of the net. And arguably the LA Kings had the best opportunity on the 5-minute power play.
Yeah, and this may be a recurring theme as we go through the podcast, the whole special teams problem. Like, there's...
But they scored a power play goal against the Kings.
It's true. I actually thought that it was a pretty good overall effort. Overall, I wasn't mad at it. Yeah, it is a wasted opportunity. But like overall, I thought it was a pretty good game, and like honestly, not losing your heads after a really bad injury is kind of a victory.
Yeah. But anyhow, the Vancouver Canucks, they sweep California. They're coming home on a high. And, well, I mean, if you have a hockey pool that had a whole lot of Oilers on it, you were living life on a high too, because, was there an Oiler left off the score sheet? Don't know.
Literally, I was like, Canucks are just like, let's just get Connor McDavid to his 1,000th point as quick as possible. Let's help him out on that score. That's
some big brain thinking right there,
it's
right?
Canadian
Get it out
history,
of the way so it's not something that's hanging over you. I mean, it Canucks in their history, the number of players who've set records and stuff. I think we talked about this on like the last episode.
Yeah.
They no equal. Now Draisaitl goes and gets the game going nice and early. Perry then follows that up pretty darn quick, and Arvidsson pretty darn quick after that. So pretty quick in the first and then pretty quick in the second. So within 5 minutes of each period, the Vancouver Canucks have essentially checked out.
Yeah, that's what it felt like, because we've talked about like Kevin Lankinen saving Canucks and like being that calm head, but like as the game went on, and I would say that like the first few goals really I couldn't fault him for, but at least the last two scored on him. Like I was just like, Kevin, what are you doing? Like he was, like he had lost his head for sure.
Well, Blankman looked more like Lankinen, right? Like on the road he was blank. At home, he's more Kevin Lankinen. But he's not getting any favors done in front of him. We've talked about the, defensive pairings from hell. Yeah. Also a problem.
PK.
But when Petey, who is slowly starting to find his game and looking somewhat like Petey of old, gets the Vancouver Canucks on the score sheet, get a little energy in the building. A few minutes later, Hronek scores. That's pretty cool. The Vancouver Canucks are now buzzing. And Edmonton needed to, take a breath. The problem is they continued to breathe. And, I remember during the intermission talking about, I think the Vancouver Canucks are going to pull this one out. They just need to come out, hashtag win the turd. And instead drop the turd.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. Like... It just, like, when you're scrolling the box score, you're just like, it just keeps going.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, the second period, you've got two goals within, like, a minute and a half. And in the third period, you've got 3 goals in the course of, like, 2 minutes. Good teams generally don't give those goals up that way.
No.
I mean, heck, you take away the power play marker they got at the end of the game to make the score a respectable 7-3.
Yeah.
Like, give me a
Yeah,
break.
totally. But also it was kind of like, yeah, it was one of those things where you're just like, this isn't the point, and it's still like not good, but like PD looked good.
Well, he did. And this is something I'm going to talk about as we sort of continue on this journey and recapping the games is that PD is starting to look good, but there seems to be a good number of people who don't think that that's true. But Vancouver Canucks, yeah, they turned in a stinker against the Edmonton Oilers. Good thing the next team from Alberta was coming into town, because ain't no way the Vancouver Canucks will turn in back-to-back stinkers, right?
I mean, no, like, you know, Calgary were helpful on that score.
So when Kirkland scored to give the Flames the, late first period lead, did you have a little bit of the worries?
No, because that's like what Canucks do. Like, I was like, it doesn't really, like, this could be a good game, this could be a bad game. Canucks are going to get scored on first. And obviously there was also the Costco magic in the air. Like, that is apparently the only arena in the NHL that has a Costco next door.
Oh, okay. I was like trying to, where are you going with this? I can't. Oh, Kirkland brand.
But apparently
Costco
they do call
connection.
him Costco, which shows a modicum of imagination for hockey players.
Yeah. We talked about special teams and the lack thereof. Well, another game, the Vancouver Canucks get a power play, move the puck around real quick. Petey gets himself a pretty hot goal early in the second period. Now, this was sort of a carryover from the first, the power play marker and such, but the Canucks really sort of turned it around. I don't know what it was that Tocchet said to the team during the intermission. Maybe he showed them replays of the Edmonton game and said, give your heads a shake.
They said, it's Petey's birthday.
But,
I mean, don't be mean.
But rhymes with shooter Pia Suter scores at the 2:38 mark, and the Vancouver Canucks now have a 2-1 lead. The building's bumping. And hey, finally, Brandstrom scores a goal. Arguably, pretty solid pickup. Again, he's made mistakes. He's going to make a mistake in an upcoming game that we're going to talk about. But he looks like a kid that's got some brains. And I would like for the blue line to have some brains.
Yeah, I mean, him being a stabilizing presence did Vinny Desharnais. I'm not saying miracle worker, but like, it's impressive to say the least, especially like coming into a team late. Looks like a really good investment from Vancouver's point of view. He not only got on the score sheet, like got an assist, but like his overall game was just so strong, I thought. Yeah, I think in general he has a really calm head in the team. Obviously has made some mistakes more recently, but yeah, overall good. We didn't actually even talk about in between games how Daniel Sprong just sprung away.
Oh, yeah. Peace be with Daniel. Down to the Kraken for future considerations, which I actually wonder, do all trades that include future considerations get consummated? And if so, is it like old school futures where it's like a bag of hockey tape? Like it's just
I was kind
anything,
of under the
like
impression that it was like an informal way of saying nothing. But I think it's kind of like, I think there is more formality, like something does have to be tied up, but I don't actually know. We need.
Well, why not have the Daniel Sprong went to Seattle on a free transfer. I know that's not the same context because he remains under contract.
Yeah, but it is funny. It does seem to be it was doing Daniel Sprong a favor. So because there were other teams that could have picked Daniel Sprong up on waivers.
Yeah. And when that trade happened, I think me to a letter thought Dakota Joshua's back. He is, just not then. Lekaramaki didn't get the call up then either, so people are like, what's going on? Well, it was because he had picked up a knock, but don't worry, Lekaramaki, he got called up eventually. But yeah, Sprong, peace be with you. Barely got to know thee. Okay. Bo Horvat's in town, New York Islanders, Vancouver Canucks, obviously going to be up for this game. And boy, were they. Game starts with some energy. You've got Lekaramaki scoring his first goal of his NHL career. And it was a beauty. Buildings a poppin'. Dakota Joshua back in the NHL. Buildings a poppin'. Like within 3 minutes, you're like, wow, there's some buzz. The Vancouver Canucks, they're really going to take it here. Thing is, and I don't know if you know this, but apparently shooting the puck is a prerequisite to scoring goals. Have you heard about this?
I mean, this sounds like newfangled science to me. This sounds like very advanced stats, but yeah, I can believe it. It was like, it? Honestly, it felt worse than the New Jersey game.
Oh, it did. People were comparing it to like, the Canucks effort against the Devils or like historical Lou Lamoriello trap. It didn't feel like the Islanders were trapping the Canucks. It just felt like the Vancouver Canucks. It just didn't really care to be there. They're like, yeah, Lekaramaki got his goal. Dax bat. Let's go to the Roxy.
Yeah.
Like that's actually, when was Kessler in town?
No,
Kessler was at the Roxy?
That was the Calgary game.
Whoa, see, there's the problem. Maybe it was the Roxy flu.
Maybe.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Kessler was in town. He got a Ryan Kessler chant in the building, hammered back a beer. There's video of him at the Roxy. He was up on the stage with the microphone, with the house band.
Just giving her. It was bad.
Vancouver Canucks got 3 shots on the first period. It was so bad that the first period ended, and I'm like, did the Canucks get a shot on goal? Oh, yes, they got at least one because they scored a goal. But the Islanders were just playing hockey, and the Vancouver Canucks weren't playing.
Yeah, it was pretty grim. It did feel like Bo Horvat, you remember all the pain and suffering you had to go through as a Canucks captain? Like, here it is, a whole entire hockey game to make up for it.
Well, and Horvat got only, 2 points, 2 apples. He drew penalties with wild abandon. Like, there were those who were trying to suggest the referees had a grudge against the Canucks. No. When you're a bad team, you play bad. The Vancouver Canucks played bad. They after 2 periods, they had 5 shots. However, during the second intermission, they found a shot. So the Vancouver Canucks, instead of having 5 shots after 2, got 6 shots after 2. Problem, the Islanders, they were doing this thing called shooting the puck. And in the second period, scored a couple of goals based on the fact that they were taking shots. Now, in fairness, Lankinen looked more like Lankin, less like Lankinen. Not helpful. But it didn't really matter if he let in 1 goal or he let in 1,000 goals. When you're only getting 5 shots on net or 6 because the statisticians found a magical shot, you're going to lose. And if you're going to tell me, hey, Chris, they got 20 shots in the third, that makes up for it. Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean.
Yeah, totally. That makes up for the piss poor effort and the fact that the Vancouver Canucks look like absolute garbage.
Like, it was just.
Until Tyler Myers scored a goal to, again, make it a respectable 5-2.
But that was one of the worst games I have seen, like, in a while. Like, it was bad hockey. Boring, bad hockey.
Hey,
yeah.
I mean, even Tocchet agrees with you. Post-game comments was like, we owe our fans an apology. They pay $200-$300 to watch a game.
I think he owes, I think they owe fans more than an apology. But yeah, maybe a couple $100.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. So the Vancouver Canucks, they got hung with a 5-2 loss. Going into Hockey Night in Canada, Chicago Blackhawks are in town. Future Vancouver Canuck Connor Bedard finally getting to get on the ice in Vancouver for an NHL game, having missed the opportunity last season. And you'd have to think the Vancouver Canucks were going to come out with a statement. They were going to put their foot down on the gas early. They are going to take advantage of a Chicago team that's not that good. And boy, did they ever, by having Arturs Ilus let in A soft goal from, noted Canucks killer Ilya Mikheyev.
Like, what? How did he score that? Like, it's just like, okay, you can do it now that you play for Chicago, but yeah.
Okay. So, we'll talk about Petey sort of holistically, but there were some who suggested, in jest or maybe not, that maybe it was Petey anchoring Mikheyev, not Mikheyev anchoring Petey.
That's like, I don't know, whatever the opposite of a galaxy brain take, that's what that is. Like, we've both talked about Petey just overall that, like, he has to figure it out, and he will, and he does seem to have.
He sort of has.
It does really seem that way. But Canucks overall are still not holistically there yet. Like, another slow start. Like, you can't be letting weak teams score the first goal on you because you're already behind the 8 ball, because when you get the strong teams and you don't start off the game strong, then you're giving yourself even more of an uphill battle. It just seems like like it is a concern to me, even though, like Tocchet said, after the first period that they actually looked pretty good. And obviously but I would say
eventually.
Eventually. But the 4-1 scoreline, I wouldn't say like is a good reflection of the game as a whole. Like, just because the Canucks scored those last minute goals against Edmonton and New York, like, same thing. Like, I wouldn't say Canucks are dominated Chicago as a whole, like, eventually, but yeah.
That's fair. And you think about that game, the Vancouver Canucks went into the first intermission down a goal. Like, they were losing. I would imagine Tocchet, may have gone full Mike Keenan or something like that in the dressing room. I don't know. I wasn't there, but it occurs to me he could potentially, raise his voice just a bit. And whatever happened seemed to shake the Canucks out of whatever doldrums they were stuck in, because they came out the second period the way they should have probably come out at the first period, the way they should have come out and played for the entire game against the Islanders. But they came out and started to hurry and pressure this Chicago team that, again, isn't that good, and pressured them into making some really stupid mistakes. Got themselves a power play marker. Again, Petey, yes, it's a power play goal, and you're expecting him to score those, but he's finding his game, and if not, he has found it. The Vancouver Canucks then, again, continue to pressure this young team, and for all intents and purposes, had control of the game, despite needing 2 empty net goals to really ice it. Like, they only had a 1-goal lead until near to the end of the game. But I thought that effort sort of showed the Vancouver Canucks as turning a corner, finding their way in the fog. Seeloff said look shaky. He's had some shaky starts, but he really was the reason the Canucks weren't down more than one going into that first intermission. And that takes us into a back-to-back where they get to take on a not-so-good Nashville Predators team, which I did not realize the Predators coming to Vancouver last night were possessing the worst record in the NHL.
Yeah, I knew they were struggling. I've just had way too many jokes about, like, is there another U2 concert they can cancel?
Well, that comes up every game, whether they're playing well or not.
So, look, are Nashville the worst? Like, do they have the worst players in the league? Definitely not. Like, look, Chicago, look at San Jose. Like, there's obviously much weaker teams out there, but they are not figuring it out. I would say, like, thank God for goalies. Like, they would be in a much worse position if Saros wasn't, like, keeping them in games and when he can. But yeah, like, once again, you're playing a team that's struggling, and you just, like, Canucks have opened the gate for them.
Yeah, the Vancouver Canucks, to their credit, ironed out the non-compete problems against the Islanders, but then introduced a bad case of the giveaways.
Yeah.
As the
Canucks
solution.
giveth and Canucks giveth.
And yeah, it was problematic throughout the game, and, it came to a head near to the end. But, a player we haven't really talked a whole lot about over the course of these sort of 2-week rewind is Niels Höglander. Niels has apparently found his way into Tocchet's doghouse, or as I, like you, have put it, Tocchet doesn't trust Hog again. Is this little piggy being sent to the market? And I kind of have to think he is. Like, he went from being the guy we felt was like on Petey's wing forevermore until the end of time to maybe playing opposite of Petey's wing. Unfortunately for Niels, didn't have really a good game, and his delay of the game penalty for a penalty that really is beyond his control of the puck over glass again.
I was just like, you had
it's a bad penalty, but there's worse penalties you can take.
Him at that point, just like really on top of everything.
But when Stamkos ties it up on that subsequent power play, it's like the little sort of, balloon that the Vancouver Canucks were using to sort of float around the ice popped. And
an odd metaphor. Okay. Yeah.
Well, they, fell down, didn't seem to find their way back up again. What's interesting is in the third period where you had, Nashville sporting themselves a solid 2-goal lead. The Vancouver Canucks didn't think that shooting the puck was all that important again, but that's okay. Neither did the Nashville Predators, because they're like, hey, we got a 2-goal lead. And I again, found myself tuning out. Now, in fairness, I didn't watch the entirety of that game because Grey Cup, and then I was mom sitting, and then I was in the car and all of that.
Yeah, but I mean, the ending of the game, it was one of the games where it did seem like Canucks were close to maybe tying it up or something. But
no.
But like,
okay, Sherwood scores, the energy is back. Blah. Blah,
if
blah,
Sherwood scores that breakaway, like, but fair. It wasn't good. Like,
maybe he's a double agent.
I don't think you can get yourself into that position, right? Like where you're chasing the game that way, against a team like Nashville. Like, were some of the penalty calls a bit bogus? Sure, but like. It was like the Edmonton game where you just saw like the worst coverage. And let's go back to Höglander just briefly, because a big feature of this game was obviously JT Miller being basically stapled to the bench in the third period.
He's picked up a knock.
Well, yeah, I mean, he definitely is not 100%, as players often aren't. Tocchet says there's no injury, of course.
Whatever. I mean, Rick Dollywell's out there throwing fuel on the he's injured, let's sit him fire.
I do think I kind of like this distinction I had for Canucks conversation, is that the two things can exist separately, is that he's not playing 100%, he's dealing with an injury, and Tocchet just did not like his play or his commitment. And obviously that's something we've talked about a lot, that Tocchet, like, is responsible, and like he also, like, there's consequences no matter who you are. I think JT Miller's honestly gotten away with it a little bit for parts of the season, and Tocchet kind of had it up to here. I'm not just saying this because I do like Niels Höglander a lot, like he seems very sweet and whatever, but the leash that he has compared to other players is just insane to me. Like, Tocchet has even said, like, he liked his game against Chicago, I think he said, and he was just like, yeah, Niels is playing better, he gets it now, type thing. And then he makes one mistake, and he's right back in the dog/hog house. Like, I think he was one of the Canucks' best players last year, like, at least on 5-on-5, right? Like, the amount he did with quite a little ice time was crazy. And yet, as soon as he has 1 week game, Rick Tocchet's like, okay. Like, calling you out publicly, all of that. So, like, I think that's safe to say that he's not a Tocchet player. And maybe he never will be.
No. Well, I think it's very apparent he's not a Tocchet player. And this this is something that we can talk about in a future podcast, but Tocchet seems to have a thing about playing the players he wants, and the front office has a thing for signing the players that they want, and the Tocchet's players and the front office players are not always on the same list. At some point in time, that'll come to a head. Regardless, Vancouver Canucks have 2 goals before we record our next 2 goals. Hopefully more than that. 2 games.
If you're right and you have cursed the Canucks.
I come from the future. They take on the Rangers at home before they head out on the road forever. There are many, many out there that are really concerned with the Vancouver Canucks and a not so bad New York Rangers team in town. And then they head out on the road where they get to take on the Ottawa Senators for a Hockey Night in Canada early game, because again, they're out east. But Anna, your thoughts? Do they get points out of New York and Ottawa?
Yes, I think so. But I think, like many things in life, it'll get worse before it gets better. If you're having a case of iffy home form, I wouldn't recommend, like, maybe it was meant to be a gift to play Nashville when you're struggling at home. But I wouldn't recommend.
Nashville appreciates.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend playing New York Rangers. Yeah, if it's possible to get negative points from a hockey game, that's what Canucks are going to do tomorrow. And if it's possible,
because the Rangers only have 1 loss.
If it's possible to get 3 points from a hockey game, maybe Canucks will get that on Saturday. Bit cruel, but I do think yes, that they should beat the Senators, especially if it goes badly tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. There is a part of me that wants to suggest the Vancouver Canucks will win against the Rangers, will think all is right in the world, and then they'll go and put up a stinker in Ottawa. I mean, that's sort of the Vancouver Canuck way, right? Lose to the teams you don't expect to beat, lose to and beat the teams you don't expect to beat. But let's keep things on the straight and level. Canucks lose to the Rangers, beat the Sens.
Yes.
Did you keep?
You know what? I was just thinking about that, and like the one time I actually wrote down what we said, I'm not in the same space recording, so it is on my desk at work. So, sorry everyone, but I do think I was probably overly optimistic about the Canucks.
Oh, so was I.
I'm positive we definitely overestimated. Also, I will 100% take the L on saying that Canucks might have a better chance against Edmonton if Connor McDavid played and they would step up to the plate a bit more. That didn't happen. So, sorry, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, anyhow, just like the Vancouver Canucks will do in a short bit, they're going to get a few days off. We're just going to take a few minutes off. You're listening to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Anna and Chris.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on it.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? And that because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He didn't play. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And, yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
So for half full, half empty, you'd written down in the rundown that we should talk about the Vancouver Canucks conceding goals first, as well as why do they keep losing at home. I'd like to point out that the Vancouver Canucks have proven they can lose games where they score first or where the other team scores first. They're really not all that particular as to how they approach the loss.
They are versatile.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
The slow start thing, okay. I will agree that it feels like the Vancouver Canucks are finding themselves a little bit slow on the puck drop. This season. It feels that way. I can't say I've sat down to sort of ascertain if this is actually true, but it's got that feel. And I also would agree that the Vancouver Canucks have had opportunities where they've scored early goals, only to show that the problems that they have on their blue line are more than willing to help sort out that unfair we scored first thing that the Canucks occasionally do to let other teams get back into it. How do they fix that? And then how do they fix the losing at home thing. Well, I don't want to talk about the losing at home. I feel that the Vancouver Canucks, who as a man said, "Oh, we play off the energy," need to actually take a breath and play off the energy. Have some fun. Pond hockey that crap up. If the Vancouver Canucks were to lose a game like 8-7, yeah, people will be pissed off, but it would be entertaining and the energy would be present. And even if you were to sport a deficit but continue to get back into the game, the fans will sort of drive the players forward. But to play a whatever the heck you want to call it against the Isles and drop that kind of egg, just start shooting the puck from your own end and see if you can make it work. Yeah, sure, you'll ice most of them, but you can remember what it's like to get a puck on the net. That'd be helpful.
Yeah. I honestly don't know what the answer is, but it does seem to be like a lack of energy. Obviously, JT Miller was
running out of Fs.
Showing
he's giving
some
them all
commitment issues before he was benched. Quinn Hughes even gave up on a few.
Well, okay. Quinn's been asked to play 60 minutes a game. Right?
I get it. But it's just if Quinn Hughes is giving up, what do we do?
There were people calling out Quinn's effort, and what do you want from the kid? He's having to, someone on Blue Sky had commented, I need to play him 60 minutes a game. And I'm like, that seems reasonable. 3 shifts, 20 minutes each, and he can have a 15-minute break in between them.
I mean, honestly,
and
if
you
you
what's
asked
wrong
him
with
to do that, he would just shrug sadly and skate off and do it.
Off he goes. And by the end of that third shift, he'll find that, extra gear to help the Vancouver Canucks try to get back into the game they're currently trailing.
Yeah. But obviously, it's a huge deal, the defensive problems. We have Quinn Hughes, who is, as you say, doing great but playing an unsustainable amount of minutes. Philip Hronek, who struggles when he's not on the ice with Quinn.
Which the team finally decided, let's try to split this pair up to fix the other pairs, only to find out that doesn't
necessarily work. Eric Brandstrom in general has been pretty good, so I'm not gonna get annoyed at a few mistakes he has made. Susie and Myers, the, let's say, dependable pairing that we had in their role last year, have been woeful. Carson Soucy is just his best moments have come when he's shot the puck. His defensive game is concerning, I would say. Him and Myers just don't seem to be on the same page whatsoever.
No, they don't. And the solution was, let's mix things up. And I think Soucy was playing with Quinn and Hronek with Myers at one point, or is it the other way around? Regardless, did not help.
Made
Hronek look real bad. And, Quinn's already playing 60 minutes a game. It's not too fair to tie an anchor to him that he has to lug around the ice. The Eric Brandstrom, comment you made, I think is salient. He's a kid who's going to make mistakes, but the thing is what you're getting from him. And while, yes, the mistakes are going to be part of his game, he contributes much more than just mistakes. He sees the ice well. He's good at distributing the puck, which would be nice to have a blue liner that can do that beyond Quinn Hughes. What the Vancouver Canucks need to find is someone, like a Shen to throw on there with him.
Someone who's not going to be
keep the kid honest. Hey, is Chris Tanev available? Any word on Chris Tanev?
I mean, he is still an active player in the NHL, but I don't know. Yeah,
apparently one of the blue liners had picked up a knock because they called DPD up, right? And he took the warm up, but didn't
DPD
start.
is a smart player, and he's good. He's been really good in the AHL, I would say, at least in terms of his speed of adapting to
Just a comment, if you're curious who DPD is, it's
Yeah,
the defenseman
but
named
yeah.
Elias Pettersson.
Elias.
Or
Apparently
Elias,
it is
or how
Elias,
do you say
which,
it?
like, it does seem
Okay,
like a
I
lie to
give
make
up.
our lives easier, but I think it is Elias.
And
Um,
and on his name, this comment had come up in Shorthouse, and then I think even PJ had
he asked Shorty about it.
sort of referred to the fact that look to Jim Robson, who had to call Canucks games when they're two Greg Adams, and in my mind I'm like, okay, which of the PDs is going to be called Gus?
Yeah. I mean, can I just say, like, I still think DPD sucks. Like, repeat is way better, but, like, it does seem like the market has spoken,
Well,
so.
Okay, but if they call him Repeaty and the Canucks get a third,
well then, yes, that's true.
Re can only be one.
I know, but it just
so-
seems a shame to miss out on the repeat pun, but anyhow, like, he does seem to be very good at an AHL level. Like, maybe he'll do just fine. Maybe he'll do better than fine if he's thrown into an NHL game, but, like, our problems go beyond that. It's not like, oh, like, our bottom pairing is struggling, let's throw another player on with Eric Brandstrom. Like, it's beyond that. Like, DPD's not gonna save the Canucks. Like, this is a point, like, and I think quite a few people have spoken on this already, Elliot Freeman being one of them, Rick Dhaliwal as well, that Canucks are in the market for a defenseman, and they may be, like, ready to move on that, like, fairly quickly.
Yeah. Well, Niels, we're going to miss you when you get traded for whoever that blue line solution happens
PD's
to
going to
be.
miss him too.
Yeah.
Stop trading away his best friend.
And it's a shame because when, the Vancouver Canucks went out into the market and they, got Desharnais and forward, you thought, okay, here's a couple guys, they're going to go
like,
and
maybe between them,
truculence
there's a defenseman there.
Yeah, like Zadorov sort of provided, but he's gone now. But these two, they could probably figure it out. And they're going to be, tried, tested, and true. And they've tried and they have been tested and they have not been my
No, and Derek Forbort, like, I'm going to be careful what I say here because obviously he was going through a very tough time as well. But, like, he wasn't playing well, and now he's injured. So
yeah, and I'm not taking away all of that he has been through.
Yeah.
It's just that the game on the ice, if that's what's been causing the problems, I get it.
Yeah. And
but the game on the ice isn't sufficient.
Is it week to week still with him? I'm not sure. He's on the IR anyway, so, like, yes, you would assume it's he's still at least a few weeks away. The Demko timeline keeps being pushed back. Like, we keep hearing,
was it Canucks Army? Didn't they say it was his return is imminent?
His return is imminent, but also it was imminent last month. Like, they were like, oh, he might play on the road trip, like as in the previous road trip. And I was like,
hey, they said he might have been back for round 3
that's
of
very
the Stanley
true.
Cup playoffs last year.
But yes, like,
it's just he's been day to day.
Do I think
since
Demko
then.
will be a huge boost, especially if he's healthy? Of course, but, like,
oh, you think?
but, like, it's not. We still need.
If he's
an
healthy?
extra two. Yeah, exactly.
Like an asterisk. Like that, his healthy is forever.
And it will be,
asterisk.
right? Like, it will be. Like, if he's healthy enough, I guess.
That's not a knock. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I like your pun here. If we have time, talk around the league like winning peg. Winning peg lost.
In the football, the CFL, or no?
Oh, both.
Yeah. I mean, I was just like, oh, we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. And which, like, by what I mean by that is that we're rooting against any Toronto sports team, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, the Winnipeg Jets they've lost like 2 games after going like, was it 15-1 or something
insane.
like
They
that?
look so good. And, like, I was a believer in the Winnipeg Jets way longer than I should have been the last time they were good. And I was like, no, they still have something. And they didn't really. But, like, they do seem to have figured it out. And Hellebuck, who I've kept in my keeper league for the last 3 seasons, he's doing me proud.
Yeah. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, for those keeping track of the CFL, lost to the underdog Toronto Argonauts in the Grey Cup. What you may not know, Anna, is first and foremost the Toronto Argonauts. Their starting quarterback busted up his leg in the Eastern final. As a result, Toronto had their backup quarterback as their winning QB. Winnipeg held the lead until they didn't, and then Toronto just ran away with it. But this is the third straight Grey Cup that the Winnipeg Jets have been to and lost.
As in the last 3 they've been in, they've lost, or the last 3 Grey Cups?
The last 3 consecutive Grey Cup finals have involved a team from Winnipeg losing.
It's a shame. I mean, yes, hopefully the Jets do a little better than Blue Bombers who bombed.
Yeah, they did. And all their fans are blue.
Like Smurfs.
Mm-hmm. We're here all week.
I realize that I also could have thrown in around the league, like we mentioned before, Connor McDavid got his 1,000 points, and Alex Ovechkin's gonna chase down the record.
Because he's gonna play until he's Yager's age. Maybe even longer.
He's gonna do it this year.
No, I know, but he's going to play until he's Yager's age. Like this question,
I don't know. I kind of think I would respect the hell out of him if he just broke the record and was like, "I'm done."
Gets it?
Like on the spot, like mid game. I definitely thought he was like done, not done. Like I still thought he was going to break the record, but I thought like he looks like gone. He looks a little washed. Like they're just gonna keep him on for the next 2 seasons to make him break the record. Yeah. Speaking of people that look really old, Connor McDavid has aged so quickly in Edmonton. He looks like he's in his mid-40s. Anyway.
So Anna, I don't know if you caught the news. I mean, you did last episode. C4 is on Blue Sky. So the C4 podcast.bsky.social. You actually, if you type that in, the C4 podcast.bsky.social, it'll take you directly to the C4 account.
Yeah, I'm still figuring out Blue Sky, but like,
it's actually a novel sort
I'm
of
doing
thing.
Better. There's still some things that are quite annoying about it, but like overall, it is a much nicer place to be.
It is. I'm enjoying my time there on Blue Sky myself. I am at lightforce.ca on Blue Sky because, I'm special like that. And then Anna, you're a4a03.bsky.social. If you follow C4 on Blue Sky, understand that we don't generally interact as the podcast because Anna and I are too busy interacting as ourselves.
Yeah, so just
that's sort of our thing.
Talk to us directly.
Personally. Follow the podcast just to stay abreast of episodes and news and stuff. Yeah. We're also obviously on all the other social media platforms, but Blue Sky is the new hotness. You can find the podcast at c4podcast.com, as you all probably already know. And if you didn't, now you do. And if you wanted to support the show from a financial perspective, either by throwing a few bucks our way to go and allow Anna and I to go and buy ourselves a coffee, or as Anna prefers to call it. And you can just go to buyme.coffee.com/C4podcast. Individual one-off contribution will go towards the beer. A monthly or annual contribution that goes towards the show. And if you happen to go with the monthly or annual contribution, you get access to our supporter exclusive show, C4 Off the Rails, which Anna and I are about to record in a short moment. I was thinking, Anna, I'm going to throw this at you live with absolutely no insight that I was going to do it. Should we make the first return episode of the C4 Off the Rails show available to all? I mean, it's been a supporter exclusive for a few weeks now, but maybe they can sort of get a feel.
Just see, this is what you're missing
as to what it is like.
Yeah. I like that idea. All I remember is the first one was super chaotic. So
it was, and then the second one. Did I get you in trouble with your mom?
No, she's used to it.
Hi, Anna's mom. But, it's buymeacoffee.com/C4 podcast. Anywho, any final words of wisdom for everyone there?
If your umbrella, is broken, get a new one. This is just more. This is more a reminder
Okay.
to myself when I listen to the episode to get myself a new umbrella.
Okay. I'm going to add some other advice. If you have an umbrella and you're walking under a canopy, feel free to lower the umbrella for a short period of time. Trust me, you don't need the umbrella under the canopy.
Smart.
Just saying. So on behalf of Anna, 4603, pretty much everywhere, and me, Light Force, pretty much everywhere, it's time for the podcast to be, us, we out.